Hi everyone, welcome to Code Club. Today we're going to be looking at saving the sharks. So this is part of the Code Club series at Redgate. So the Save the Shark game. So we're going to learn how to use random numbers and mouse controls to create a game. There's a tutorial at this link here, which we'll post it in the chat. And then there's the link to get started on Scratch is here. So this project has some, it already has some sprites in there. So it's important to use the links to start you off, or you won't have the sprites in there. So I'll just share those in the chat now. So hopefully everyone can see the link there to the tutorial. And there's a link there below for Save the Sharks on Scratch. So just a quick reminder, if you want to save your game, you'll need a Scratch account. If you haven't got one, just hit Join Scratch in the top corner. And you need to enter your username, but don't use your real name and the password. So then you can hit the remix button, which will save it onto your account. So, so let's get started with some introductions. So I'm Owen, I'm a software engineer here at Redgate Software. I'm joined today by Eleanor, Dave and Russell. Eleanor, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I can say hi. So, hi, I'm Eleanor and I'm a designer at Redgate.
Hi everybody, I'm Russell. I work in tech support at Redgate.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm one of the tech leads.
Cool. So, so the next step, so we're going to move on to the actual game now. If you've got any questions, just reach out to us in the chat and we'll try and help you. But please don't talk about anything other than the work in the chat. So let's get started. So has everyone got this screen open on Scratch? You should be able to. So there's a link in the chat. I'll just post it again. If you go to there, it should give you a screen with the shark on. Has everyone got to the shark screen? Okay, I'll get started. So, but if anyone falls behind, can't be accessed. So you should just be able to click on the link. And it'll open up in a new window like that. I think we're good to go. So the first step of the game is to make the shark move. So this is meant to be underwater, the blue background, and then we've got the shark here, but we want the shark to be able to move. So what we're going to do is use a control, an event. So when we press a flag, we want to do something. And then we want it to move to a position, like the starting position. So we're going to say go to X 0 and Y minus 120, which we can see if we push the green button and move the shark down, push the green button, it puts it back to the start there. So has everyone got to that point? Cool. So what we want to do is make it so if you push a button, push the mouse button, so if we click here, it moves to the left, and if we click over here, it moves to the right. So it will basically drag through when you click either side. So if we start off by going to the control tab, and we want to repeat forever, because we want it to do for the whole game. If you click there, it moves. If you click to the other side, it moves. We're then going to do an if statement. So we're going to do the if block there. And we're going to say if the mouse is down, which is under the sensing tab. If mouse down, then we want to do something. So if the mouse is down, we want to move to either side of the screen. But we need to check first which side of the screen the mouse is clicked on. So we need another if block. Which is going to say, and then we need a comparison. So how we're going to work out where it is, so the middle of the screen is 0. So this side is minus and this side is plus. So we're going to say that if if something is less than something, and then we need mouse x, so that's the position along the x-axis of the mouse, is less than under the position of the shark. So we're going to use a motion of x position. So the whole process now, when we start the game, we go to this point, and then forever we're going to check that if the mouse has been clicked, we're going to do this. And then if the point on the screen where you've clicked is less than the x of that. Yeah, has everyone got to that point? So
And it might just be worth repeating those last few steps, because I think some people think it's a little bit fast paced, but nonetheless it will be recorded and uploaded, so you can watch it back at any point.
Yeah, so I'll start from the forever point. So has everyone got to this point here? Okay, so once we're at forever, we're going to put an if statement here. So that's under control, and then if. So if we're at the if point, we then need to work out whether the mouse has been clicked down or not. So we're going to do sensing, which is this sort of pale blue one, and then do mouse down question mark. And then just drag it into the little diamond shaped bit of the if statement. So hopefully everyone's got to that bit. Okay, so the next step is to put another if block in. So we'll drag in from there, which is just inside the other if. So we've got forever, then an if inside that, and then an if inside that. And then the next point is we need to put another condition inside the if. So if we go to operators, and then we want to do a check here to see if something is less than something else. So that's one of these little green ones. Then just drag that into there. So has everyone got to that point now? Okay, so I'll move on to the next step. If anyone's got any questions, just put it in the chat and we'll try and help. So we now need to fill out this green condition here. So what we're going to say is if we click on the left side of the shark, we want it to do something. So if we go into sensing and then do mouse X, so X is the left and right. So if we're to the left of the shark, so to find out where the shark is, if we go to motion and then drag in the X position, which is the position of the shark. So we can now say that if we click with the mouse, so click the mouse, and the position is on the left-hand side of the shark, we can then do something in here. So what we want to do is move the shark. And we're going to do that by using another one of these motion ones. So we want change X by 10. And what we're going to do is, because this is positive values are that way and negative values are left. So if I do this now, it's going to move to the right. So what we need to do is put a minus sign in there. So we do it by -10 rather than +10. So now hopefully if we push the green flag, we go to the left. And then finally what we're going to do is make the shark change costume.
Owen, someone's just asking how to get the shark to move again. So I wonder if you could repeat that step as well. I think another few people are just trying to catch themselves up.
So to get the shark to move, once you've got to the mouse down part, which is checking that it's been clicked, you then need to put another if statement within inside that, another little block, which has if the mouse X position is less than the position of the shark, then you just need a little blue one that says change X by 10. Change X by 10 one is in the blue bit here. Is everyone good up to this point? Has everyone got to here?
I think that's good. I think it's also really useful explaining what each pieces of these controls and parts mean and how they affect it.
Yeah, so if it's moving right but not left, you need to change this change x by 10 to be minus 10. So if you see we've got a little minus sign in there, that actually needs to be put to minus 10. So the next part, we need to do moving to the other side of the screen. So we're going to repeat this logic we've made here. So we need another if statement. So this is going to do the code if the if statement, if this part here is true. And then same again, we want one of these green ones that compares to two things we put in. But this time, because we're going the other way, instead of less than, we want greater than. So that's just a one above it. So the little arrow points into the right way, the right-hand side. So it's the same as one above, it's just inside here. So I hope everyone's got to that bit. So we're going to repeat what we did before here and put mouse X on the left-hand side and then go to which is under sensing and then go to motion and put X position in on the right-hand side. So we can see here that what this is saying to us is if you click in here, which is on the left side of the shark, do this bit in here. And then if you click in on the right-hand side of the shark, because the X is greater than the shark's position, we're going to move to the right side of it. So the next step, we're just going to repeat what we did before and drag in change X by 10, which will move the shark to the right 10 spaces. And then we're going to go and change the costume under looks to change the costume to the next costume. So now on my one, it will move to the left and it will change costume as it goes. And if we click on the right hand side, it will move to the right. Has everyone got to this point?
I think a couple of people at least are just having some troubles with getting Scratch to work. So maybe if we just hang on a second or repeat them, that would be good.
So I think we're good to move on now. Does anyone want us to go over anything again? You just let us know in the chat if you're stuck on anything. Okay, so let's move on to adding some of the plastic waste. So if we click on the plastic down here, the sprite in the bottom right corner, you should get a blank screen like this. So this is going to be for a little plastic bottle. And then what we'll do is just the same as we did before. We're going to go to events and drag in one of the when flag clicked buttons. We're then going to go to motion. And just like we did for the shark, we're going to set the position that it's going to start at. So the starting position, we want it to be 0, which is in the middle. And then we're going to put it to 200, which is right at the top of the screen here. So the rubbish is going to start up here. So we'll make that 200. We're then going to hide it. So at the moment, if I press, so we can't see it. If I put it to 0. So what we want to do is hide it so that we can then bring it back later, which is a bit confusing, but it'll all make sense in a moment. Has everyone got to this stage? Okay, so the next step, what we want to do is we're going to make the plastic make copies of itself every few seconds randomly. So what it'll look like there'll be bits of plastic swimming towards the shark at random times. So to do that, we need to go to the control tab and we need to get this forever one. And this means it's going to do it for the whole time we're playing the game. We're always going to be doing it. So that's the control tab and then forever. We then want to create a clone of the plastic. So there's this one here called create a clone of myself. And we're just going to drag that into inside the forever bit. So it's surrounded by it. So then what we want to do is make it so we only want the plastic to come out like every few seconds. We don't want to have it doing it continuously or we'll just end up with the whole screen full of plastic. So what we're going to say is we're going to drag in one of these weight blocks inside. So this is in control and it's just the top one called weight. And that's going to go underneath create a clone of myself. So we should have forever, create a clone of myself, and then wait 1 second. So 1 second might be a bit kind of boring to always have it coming out at the same time. So what we're going to do is go to the operators one, and then we're going to pick a random number. So this pick random one is going to pick us a random number between 1 and 10. So if you just drag that in to where it says 1, and then we're going to do between 1 and 5. It doesn't really matter how often you want to have it, but I'm going to pick 5 seconds as a maximum. So has everyone got to this stage?
Oh, and after this, we just had a request to do the shark code again, but I wasn't sure if you might come back to that in a second anyway.
Yeah, I can show you the shark code now. So if we click back on the shark one, you can see what we've got is this is a complete one. So we've got a when the flag is clicked, which you'll find under events. We then want to go to motion and click go to X, Y. So I'll do this again for you. So when the flag is clicked, we're going to go to there. We then want to do something for the whole time of the game. So we're going to go to control and forever. So we'll just drag this forever in. So that means whatever's inside here, whatever's in here, we're going to do for the whole time the game is running. We're then going to we're then going to put an if block in. So what this is going to do is that if we meet whatever we put in here, if we meet this condition, then we're going to do whatever in here. So we're then going to go to sensing to get this mouse down. And just drag that into the box there. Then we're going to go back to control, put an if in there. And then we're going to go to operators and pick the less than something less than something else. And just put that there into that bit. We then want to get this mouse X one, which is a position you've just clicked the mouse button. So there, that's what mouse X is going to tell me where the cursor was. So that's in sensing and mouse X. And then we want to go to motion scroll down a little bit, and there's X position there, which is going to give us the position on the screen that X is of the shark. That's the left to right position of the shark. We then want to change the position of the shark by when you click, you want to change position. So we're going to get the change X by 10 and just drag it into there. And if we put a minus on this, just because we're going left, so left is minus and right is plus. So that now when I click on here, you can see it moves to the left because I've clicked on the left side of it. And then it's exactly the same for the right side. So we go to Control, drag in one of these if blocks. We then go to Operators. And we want this one here. But if you notice, we've got a less than here, but a greater than here. This is because where we have the shark, so the X is the left to right and the minus is left. So if we click less than that, we want to move it down to the left and we want to move it up to the right. So we're just going to put in this greater than one. So what we're going to say here, we put a mouse X in again, which is on the sensing. And then we want to put X position. So just the same as what we did before. Okay, so same as the one above, we want to just put change X by 10. So hopefully what will happen here is when you click or tap here, it will move to the left. And if we click and tap on the right, it will move to the right. So the way we made the shark swim, so where it moves it moves left to right as it goes, it sort of swims, change a little bit. We can put this next costume one in. So you see what next costume here, the next costume here. So we need to go to the Looks tab. And then find next costume. And just drag that in below the change X by -10. And then drag it in again below the change X by 10. So I'll just get rid of my old one because we don't need it anymore. So you should end up with something that looks like this under your sharks page. Which means when you click here, it moves left and right. So So has everyone got to this point now? Okay, I'll just wait a minute or two for everyone to catch up. Okay, so once you've got your shark moving left and right, it's time to put the plastic in. So you need to click back on the plastic sprite in the bottom right corner. And this is a code we had in before. So what this does, so we start off with an event, which is when the flag is clicked. We then went to motion and dragged in the go to X, Y. We then want to put this hide in, which is inside the looks tab. So if you just scroll down the looks and it's near the bottom, it's just called hide. We then want to go to control and we want to drag in one of these forever blocks. So this means that whatever's inside here, whatever's here, is going to repeat for the whole game. So what we want to do is create a clone of the plastic. So on the control tab still, we need to drag in, create a clone of myself. So there's some options here, but we want to make sure that myself is clicked. So hopefully everyone's got to this point. Just let us know in the chat if you need some help.
Owen, one person in the chat says they need some help. I think Russell's just sent a link over, so we'll see if that helps, but I'll just chip in and let you know if we need to stop at some point.
Okay. Cool. So what this is going to do at the moment, if we push the green button, it's going to keep creating clones of itself forever, basically. And it will do it instantaneously. So it means the whole screen would in theory fill up with clones of it. So I think if we make it, just to demonstrate, if we get rid of the hide, I think it won't move it, but what it would do is it would keep making copies of itself over and over again, which would be a bit boring because it would always do the same thing. So what we want to do is put a wait in, which is under control, and then it's just to wait until. And just put it in under create clone myself. So what this is going to do is create a clone, and then it's going to wait until we finish. It's going to wait until this part's done. We then go to operators and pick random. So this is going to wait. This is going to pick a random number between 1 and 10. So if we drag that into here, we just have to let things go. It should go white. Though mine's not quite going in properly. Let's just try re-adding the weight. So it should just drop into the box. What it might be actually, I think I've done this wrong here, sorry. It needs to use a wait 1 second box rather than a wait until. So what this would do is wait a second before it goes around to the create another clone. So that goes in there. And then we put this pick random in, which is under operators. So what will happen now is we'll push the button and it should create a clone of it every 1 to 10 seconds. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the shark. So a few people asked in the chat to look at the shark. Make that a bit bigger.
Yeah. Oh, no, it could just be worth showing how you separate the segments as well, how you can click and drag them out if people need to reorder stuff.
So to get stuff out, most of these little ones, you can just pull it straight out. But when you've got these ones together, you just click on the one you want to remove or move, and it'll just pull it all out as one. Just click and hold. So it always carries with the one. So if you pick up the blue one, it'll bring the purple one that's below it as well. Then you just drag and move about to where they need to be. And if you need to get rid of any of them, so if we accidentally brought this one in, you can just drag it into this box over here and it will disappear. Okay, is everyone good for us to carry on? So if we go back to the sprite now, to the plastic, sorry, in the little box down here. What we need to do now, so this will create our clones, but we need the clones to actually do stuff. So if you go to the Control tab, and a little bit near the bottom, there's this when I start as a clone. So what this is saying is that when the new clone is made, this is what it's gonna do. So when the copy is made, what it's going to do. So because we've got hide, we need to actually make the clone show again. So if we go to looks and then scroll down, there's one called show here. So what this will do is when the clone's made, it's just going to show itself. So this plastic has 4 different costumes, which you can see if you click on the costumes tab here. So you can see there's a bottle, a can holder, a bag, and a wrapper. So we don't need to do anything with these, it's just there's 4 of them. So on the code tab, what we want to do is pick a random costume to switch to. So if you see inside the looks one, there's switch costume to. So if we drag that into there, underneath the clone, we can see there's wrapper, bottle, can holder, and bag. So this lets us pick one, but what we can also do is make it pick a random one. So as we did before, where we've got pick random, we can drag in a pick random, which is under the operators box, and we can just drop that in to the switch costume to. And then we just need to change this to 4 because there's 4 costumes. Okay, so what we also want to do is set the position that the rubbish is going to be. So if we go to motion, and just like we did before here, if we drag in this go to X and go to Y one, so it's going to put it in a position when we press go. So you can see that it's just made us a random clone. And you can also see that it's making clones on top of each other because we've not told it where to go. It's just always going to the same place. So what we want to do is make the clone start at position 200 because that's the top of the screen on the y-axis. So what that means is we won't be able to see them. You can see they're just off the screen there, which is where we want them to start. And then on the x, so the left to right, we want them to come down at different points. So they can be like plastic here, a wrapper here, and they just spread out across the screen. So we're going to do this with a pick random, which we used before. So if you go to operators, and then pick random, and then we need to put in here, we're going to put in minus 200 to 200. And that's because that's the sort of sides of the screen. So hopefully if we push the button now, you can just sort of see that we're getting them appear at the top of the screen. They're not moving anywhere, but they're just appearing at random points across the width of the screen. So has everyone got to this point here now?
I think it's a little bit of a mix, Owen, as to who's reached this point and who isn't.
Yeah, there's a few complicated little bits to this one.
I'll just give everyone a few minutes. If there's anything that you can't find, just give us a shout in the chat and we'll give you a hand. So what we're going to do now is we need to set the speed at which the plastic is going to come down the screen. So for that, we need a variable. And a variable is kind of like a number, which we just keep, but we write down what the number is, and we can change that number and just look at what the value of the number is. So like, so we write down a bit on a whiteboard and then we rub it out and put a different value. We can always keep looking at the whiteboard and see what the value is. So if we drag in this set health to 0 one, which is under variables, and we just want to put it there. And because we're talking about speed, if you just click the drop down, you can see we've got some here. And we can just press speed. So what this will do is when the clone starts, it's going to set this speed value to 0. But we don't really want something at a 0 speed because it's not going to move. So we're going to choose a random speed for it to move at. So if you go to operators and pick random, the same as what we did before, just drag it into there. So this bit's slightly confusing because we want them to move down the screen. That's a minus value. So what we want to do is say we want a random number between -1 and -10. So that means it's going to come down the screen at a speed between -1 and -10. We then want to do a repeat until block, which just inside control, and it's near the bottom, which says repeat until. We then go back to operators, and we want these less than, greater than ones again. And what we want to do is make this keep coming down the screen until it goes off the screen. So we want it to get to the bottom of the screen. So we drag in something less than something. And then we want to use the Y position that we used earlier, which is under motion, and Y position. And then the value here, we'll just put -200. So I think we're starting to run out of time now. There's a link that we sent in the chat earlier. I'll just send it in again. Which has all the steps to what we've done today. So and we'll also post in the video, so if you've not got to this point, you can go on our YouTube channel later on and see how to get there. In case anyone's interested, I can just show you what's meant to happen. So, the final game. What happens is we have some fish coming down the screen and some plastic. And we try and get the fish. But if we get the plastic, our health goes down, which isn't good. So you can see their game's finished because it's run out of health. So if you want to complete the course using the tutorial, which just shows you all of the steps, and that's in the chat window at the moment. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks for coming, everyone. And we'll hopefully see you all next week. Good luck, and hopefully you manage to finish the tutorial.
Thanks, Owen. That was really enjoyable. Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Likewise. Thank you.